Well, hello, and welcome back to another podcast episode with Brittney Bundles. You are listening to the Brittney Bundles podcast, where we empower people through entrepreneurship. I do want to thank you all for tuning in to this episode today. I know we were supposed to air last Thursday. However, I decided to push the podcast episode to today, which is Sunday. So thank you all that have decided to tune in on today, even though we are posting this episode on Sunday instead of our traditional every other Thursday. So I really appreciate you all. Today, what I want to talk about, and I kind of want to dive right into it, I want to talk about remembering where you've come from and also where you're going. There are so many entrepreneurs and so many people in general, for that matter, that tend to forget where it is they originated from, that tend to forget where it is they've come from. When they have reached a certain level, when they've reached a certain height in their success, they tend to forget, and it shows. They tend to not be able to relate or choose to not look at other people's circumstances and try to remember back to when they were once in that position. And so I want to talk about, again, the importance of being humble in business, the importance of not forgetting where you've come from, and then also not forgetting where you are going, and also the benefits. So that's what we're going to be talking about today in this podcast episode. If you are interested, be sure to go ahead and share the episode, share it on social media. You can share it on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can also share it via text message and email. So go ahead and share the episode. Also, if you are listening to this podcast in the car, be sure to invite a family member or friend to listen in with you. And without further ado, we are going to jump right in today and get started. So welcome again to the Brittney Bundles podcast. We're going to get started in just a moment. All right. So again, welcome back to the podcast. So today we're talking about remembering where you've come from and also where you're going. So the first point that I had in regards to, or in relation to this topic, is never allow your accomplishments to take away from your understanding and humility. Like I mentioned, typically or occasionally, when people do start to reach a certain level, they tend to, or some people tend to, forget where they've come from. You'll notice people in conversation maybe talking down on other people, even though they've experienced similar or the exact same circumstance that someone is going through. You may notice that someone's demeanor has changed, and not for the better, but it's more so a cocky attitude. And there is a difference between being cocky and confident, but there's more so a cocky attitude and cocky demeanor. And so I wanted the first point to be never allow your accomplishments to take away from your understanding and humility. Understanding and humility is something that you need in business. It's something that's needed in order to build relationships. And like we've talked on and touched on in some other episodes, relationships are the fundamentals and the foundation to securing repeat clients, customers, and also sales. Now, I like to consider my repeat customers clients. There are some people that prefer to say clients for everyone that they interact with on a business level. There are some people that prefer to say customers, to each his own. But, I truly believe that the building blocks of building repeat business starts with being able to understand, build that relationship and rapport, and also being able to remain humble. The second point that I want to touch on is relatability is gold in business. So like I mentioned, being able to relate to whoever you're selling to, whoever you're working with, is going to be very key in being able to build secure foundations and relationships in business. Being able to relate is not only a skill, but it's something that I consider gold and a necessity in business. There are a lot of business owners that fail to relate to their client base and then wonder why the sales are not happening or coming in as they want them to happen. It's a two-way street. It's a two-way street. People tend to purchase from who they're comfortable with. People tend to shop with where they feel valued at. And if you're unable to relate to someone's circumstance, if you're unable to relate to what someone's going through or what issue they're coming to you to solve, whether it's they're wanting to find good hair extensions, whether you're selling tires and they're wanting to find the right tires for their car, if you're unable to relate in what they're going through, or if you're unable to picture yourself somewhat in that circumstance, or someone that you love and care about in that circumstance, and be able to provide a solution that's not only going to be beneficial for you, but also beneficial for them, it's going to be very challenging to sell. And not just sell. If you do get away with selling, it's going to be very challenging to continue to repeat those sales. So relatability is gold in business. Most of the people that I work with, we have some type of relationship. Now, there are some people that purchase, they just purchase. They have read over the website and they decided to go ahead and purchase without any rapport being built. It's an online business that I'm operating, so that is common. However, there are a lot of people, even though I do operate an online business, that I have built relationships with, repeat relationships through relatability. When you relate to someone, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to experience the exact thing that they've experienced, but it does take some sense of being human and understanding what it is they're wanting to or trying to portray, what it is they're trying to explain to you. I don't have to go through this exact same experience as someone else to be able to show empathy, to be able to put myself in their shoes and think about how I would feel if something like this was happening. And also think about how they would feel because they are going through it. So relatability is gold in business. The next tip that I wanted to touch on is ask yourself, how can where you've come from get you to where you're going? So a lot of times when people start to come up, they like to forget where they've come from. Now, not everyone, but some people do. I don't ever want to think about where I've come from. I don't ever want to go back to where I've come from. I don't ever want to think about the people that I used to work with. Not realizing that some of those things that you've come from are going to be essential in where you're going. There are some things that I've learned early on in business from where I started that I still take and implement to this day in my business for growth. There are some things that I learned in my salon days, through my salon journey, even though I didn't stay in the salon, that I still implement and use with the people that I work with to this day. So I always ask myself, where can where I've come from get me to where I'm going? Even if it's the motivation to not have to go back to the standard of living that you were living once before, if you didn't like it, how can you use that to motivate you to continue to move forward, to drive you to where you want to be, where you need to be? So this is a question that I commonly ask myself. And this is a question that I think is very beneficial for a lot of business owners, if not all business owners, to ask themselves. I understand how it was when I did not have money to buy what it is I wanted to buy. I understand how it was when I was not able to be at home with my children because I had to do different odd-end jobs to make bills or make ends meet, to pay bills and to put food in the home. I understand how it felt to start my business and not have the results that I initially expected off the bat. So now that I'm working with people that are wanting to transition from their 9-to-5, people that are wanting to be able to have financial freedom and security, I remember where I've come from. That helps me better relate to what they're going through and better explain how what I'm offering and what I provide can help them get to where they're wanting to go. So asking yourself, how can where you've come from get you to where you're going? What skills did you learn from where you've started? What advice do you have to give to someone else that may be in the same position that you were before? What type of resources and help did you wish that you had back then when you were where you were? And how can you now provide those same resources to someone else going through similar experiences? Now, the fourth point that I want to touch on is not losing your direction. So like I said, a lot of people tend to forget where they've come from and also where they're going. But it's very essential that we don't lose our direction. We don't lose the why and the focus behind what it is we're doing. I know where I'm going. I know where I want to arrive. And so sometimes we haven't even mapped out where it is we're wanting to end or where it is our destination is. I don't want to say end because, even once we reach one goal and one destination, there's still more growth and more opportunity out there for us. But not losing direction is key. But first we have to realize where our destination is, where it is we're wanting to get to. So don't lose your direction. Understand and see clearly as to what you're trying to obtain and intentionally move toward that every single day. So remembering where I've come from motivates me, like I've mentioned a moment ago, to continue on my path of success, to stick on the path of my destination. Even the days that I feel like I don't really want to do something, or the days that I may become easily distracted, I'm focused overall because I don't want to lose my sense of direction. I don't want to have to backtrack. I don't want to have to realign constantly. I want to continue moving forward. So not losing your direction is essential in business. Now, the podcast episode today is not going to be too long. I'm going to get this message out, wrap it up, and move on to the next episode. But I do want to, like I said before, get this out because it's very essential. The last point that I want to touch on is where you've come from does not dictate your future, but can be useful in creating your plan. So where you've come from does not dictate where you're going to go. There are so many people that use where they've come from as an excuse to not level up, as an excuse to not go far, as an excuse for why they've done what they've done or why they have lacked doing what it is they needed to do to put them in the position that they need to be in. Where you've come from does not dictate or determine where you're going to go, but it can be useful in creating your plan. Like I mentioned a moment ago, not losing your direction. In order to have a clear direction, there has to be some type of plan in place. Some type of plan in place. So because I've come from certain circumstances, I'm not going to allow those certain circumstances to enable me or to stop me or prohibit me from moving where it is I know that I need to be. There are some people that hate the way that they were raised. They hate where they have grown up. They literally hate the lifestyle that they were accustomed to, but they're putting their children in the same type of experience and same type of environment, subconsciously and sometimes unsubconsciously. But I want to remind everyone that there's always opportunity to change that. But with change, it comes some sort of direction and some sort of plan to do better, to achieve something different, to try something new, to step outside of our comfort zone, to break bad habits, to knock down barriers, to try something new, like I mentioned, and to ultimately remember where we've come from as a testimony. I used to be nervous to explain to some people where it is I've come from, what it is I've gone through. Even closing my salon, that was something that I contemplated sharing or not, because there is some embarrassment associated with not following through with your plans. At least for me, there was. And there is. There is some embarrassment that's associated at times with the sense of failure. But it's all about how you look at everything in your life. It's all about how you look at certain circumstances, So instead of looking at certain circumstances as a failure or as an embarrassment, I choose to look at the bigger picture, and I look at the testimony behind it. Being able to relate to other people that are going through some of the similar experiences that I've gone through has not only helped my business, but it's also helped me as a person be able to take losses, if you will, like a champ, like a champion, have good sportsmanship, and be able to learn from those experiences and help those that have gone through those experiences, and also to help those that have not gone through those experiences not go through them if that's something that they're not wanting to do. So there is testimony and victory in a lot of what we consider to be failures. Don't allow your testimony to be thrown away or not to be shared because of your embarrassment. In my opinion, it's selfish. So I choose to share what it is I've overcome in hopes of helping others get through and avoid certain things that I've gone through. So I am proud of where I've come from, because without me coming from where I've come from, it's hard for me to explain the victory and the love and the consistency and favor that God has had on my life and has on my life without explaining everything that I've overcome and to why I'm here now. So I don't get cocky and I don't get too flamboyant or too just what word am I looking for? I'm not constantly talking about the things that I'm buying or constantly talking about why I'm better than someone else. Ultimately, there's no one that's better than anyone. there are different lessons that we can learn from everyone. There are some people that are better in business than others. There are some people that are better at finding jobs than others. There are some people that are better at art than others. Some people that are better at finding and building relationships than others. So there are so many different things and so many different skills and gifts that God has put inside of each and every one of us. And it's our job to utilize each other so that we all can become better as one and also better individually. So I really hope that this podcast episode today helps someone. In a nutshell, I just want everyone to remember where they've come from and also where they're going, to remain humble, to continue building relationships, and to not be ashamed of where you've come from, because that is a testimony and there's victory in what you have overcome. Your business is more than your business. To someone, it's inspiration. To someone, it's motivation. To someone, it's hope. To someone, it's a solution. To someone, it's happiness. To someone, it's their stream of income. And when I say stream of income, whether that be they're looking at you and they've gotten inspired and motivated, like I mentioned, to start their business. So they're running their business with tools and skills that you've shared through your podcast or through your journey or through word of mouth or over the phone or text message or whatever you have, you may have. But the point is, there's victory. There's victory in overcoming obstacles. And there's respect in remaining humble. There's relatability in being able to share where you've come from without having that embarrassment and looking at how you can help versus how someone's going to look at you. If you do have a story that you'd like to share on this podcast, I'd love to hear it. Be sure to reach out to me via email. My email is btalks@yahoo.com. That's BTALKS@yahoo.com. I'm also on social media. So I'm on Instagram at Brittney_bundles. That is Brittney, BRITTNEY _bundles, BUNDLES. I'm on Facebook, Brittney Bundles, YouTube, Brittney Bundles, and Twitter, Brittney Bundles. Until next time.